Welcome to Pregnancy Help Podcast. My name is Valerie Humes. I am the director of the Maternity Housing Coalition, and I will be joining you today for our podcast. Today's podcast is sponsored by Heart and Home. And so if you don't know what Heart and Home is, that is our e-publication that goes out once a month, specifically talking about maternity housing. In these times, particularly since Roe has been overturned, the discussion about housing and how maternity homes and pregnancy resource centers work together has only increased. And so we have intentional conversations about that every month. So if you're not subscribed, please be sure to get connected with us on our website. So today I have with me Vicki Krnac, and I am going to let her tell you who she is and why that is important to you. As we go into that, I want to tell you real quick for a bit of a context. I mentioned something earlier, which was the Maternity Housing Coalition. And some of you may be thinking, what is that? And so the Maternity Housing Coalition is the arm of Heartbeat International that serves our affiliates that provide maternity housing. And so this is typically housing provided for women that are pregnant or maybe are experiencing a crisis in early parenthood. Maybe they experienced an unintended pregnancy or unplanned pregnancy. They've now given birth to the baby and crisis has struck. And so what we know is we have affiliates over about 150 now and growing that provide housing resources for these moms. And so the Maternity Housing Coalition is a place where these affiliates can gather together and kind of find a home where we can talk about this movement and how we can minister to these women in the best way possible all across the nation. Now, that Maternity Housing Coalition is directed by myself, but is guided through a council, a leadership council. And so this is a body of people that really act as advisors to Heartbeat International, letting us know what's happening in the world of maternity housing and how can we best support our affiliates. So with that, today I have Vicki Krnac. So Vicki, go ahead, fill in our listeners. Who are you?
Okay, welcome and hello. My name is Vicki Krnac, as Val said, and I am in my 7th year of being the executive director of a maternity home called Hannah's Home. But I'm here today as the chair of the Maternity Housing Coalition. So,
the Leadership Council?
The Leadership Council.
That's
yes.
right. Okay, so how would you explain to someone, just an affiliate that said, what is the MHC Leadership Council? But how would you explain that?
Yeah, it's a group of housing leaders that are just passionate about helping homes all over the world, actually, to do better at what they are doing, to help support them and provide training and resources and just insight and expertise. And everybody does it differently, but we just want to be a help and a support so that nobody feels like an island.
Right. I get that. So you mentioned that you are in your 7th year with your home. Is that right? And what's the name of that home?
Hannah's Home.
Hannah's Home. So tell us a little bit about Hannah's Home.
Hannah's Home. Well, we are a maternity home for women, obviously, in crisis who are pregnant. They can have older children. We are doing an expansion right now to add 4 apartments so that we can move from serving 6 women at a time to 10. And it will be a phased down in support, kind of a transition to more self-sufficiency. And we also began a daycare in 2020. So that's kind of what is big about us, I guess.
Yeah, I've noticed that Hannah's Home seems to be, or often is, the front runner in trends of maternity housing.
Oh. Okay. Well,
I guess did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah. So what I mean by that is Hannah's Home was operating daycare and thinking through how to do childcare services well at the front of the conversations when this all began, or even before others were talking about it. I always say back when it felt impossible, y'all were opening a daycare. And it seems to be your forward thinkers. The other is, our last publication of Heart and Home, we wrote in there about what was happening in the community and saying, if you've been considering apartments or transitional living additions to your housing, now may be the time to get with your board to consider executing some action on that. And again, just as we're kind of cueing people to begin having this conversation, Hannah's Home is already down the road with close to opening your apartment units. So
yeah, we're in construction right now. I would just answer that. I don't feel like a trendsetter. I just am a problem solver, because when I'm babysitting babies in my office, as moms are at school or working, I have to figure out how to solve that. So
sure,
that's how
it takes some
works.
fearlessness to do that.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yes. So, okay, here's my question. You are running Hannah's Home, and y'all have a lot going on there. You've got your hands full. And you're a mom and you're involved in your community. What's your motivation for wanting to serve on the council, especially as a chair?
Well, I think just the hope of helping homes, again, do better at what they're already doing. And I'm very passionate about them not feeling like an island. I want all of the homes, there's over 400 homes in the country. I want them all to see the support that Heartbeat has for homes, and the resources that are available, and the training options, and the connections that they could have just as in relationship and networking to other people that do what they do.
So were these things that you just talked about, were those things that you felt like at some point in your journey that you needed as a home?
Absolutely.
Before you were on the council, of course.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. So you can relate to our affiliates and really get it.
Yeah.
That's helpful. So, okay. So tell us about the council. What kind of folks are sitting on this roundtable?
Yeah. Well, the various roles range from executive directors to board members to some position of leadership within their organization, program directors. I think you're going to find most of the roles sitting on the council are consumed by one of those roles.
Sure. And so are they all coming from similar programs, or what's the perspective there with the council members?
What we shoot for in bringing members onto the Leadership Council is a wide range of diversity, not only in the faith of their organization, but the style of home, the various models, so that we can provide input into a lot of different categories of, we understand fully that all of the homes operate differently. There are not two homes that are alike, and we want to serve all of those well.
Yeah, I think that is important for our affiliates, and also for our affiliates to know, and that there is, from the perspective of the council, there is no one right model or approach to housing. And in showing that, you really have many diverse approaches to housing around the table. But one of the things I noticed is that even sometimes within each of your organizations, there are different approaches within your different programs. And so there's even diversity within your organizations, which I just think is so valuable.
And it's really valuable to sit at a table and see and talk about how different homes do it differently. And it just is, there are always great conversations. I always walk away more informed and better equipped to go back into my organization and do what I do.
I've been thinking about this lately, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, specifically helping our affiliates connect with and know that there is such a thing as the Leadership Council, and how does Heartbeat come up with what they provide for housing, right? Our conference tracks and newsletters, that there's a rhyme and a reason for that. But one of the things that really moved me was realizing how many questions we've been getting lately about what is going to happen next. What does Roe being overturned mean for housing? What does it mean for adoption? What does it mean for childcare? And it goes on and on and on. And one of the things that I found, Vicki, is that the answer to most of those is we're going to find out. We'll see. However, what I can also follow that up with is, thankfully, we have a tenured and diverse body that is providing counsel and leadership. So for me, it feels like whatever that is, what will happen, that we'll see, whatever comes on the other side of that, I feel as though the coalition is well equipped to handle or respond well and advise other homes well.
Yeah, and we just spent the last 3 days together in Columbus at the Heartbeat offices, which was wonderful, and just trying to strategically plan for what does this look like in the near future with Roe being overturned. And the answer is we don't know, but as we talk amongst ourselves, a lot of homes are dealing with women that need housing and help, who already have evictions, and what does that look like, and helping homes figure that out. How do we still help her, even though there might not be a really clear-cut exit plan for her from the maternity home, as well as women with multiple children and needing to reunify with children who are not in their care. So that changes the world of maternity housing drastically, but that's where, we see a lot of the need coming from. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see that. So one thing I would want affiliates to know when you hear that is when we have these meetings, much of our discussion is driven by two things. One, the experiences and input brought by the leaders at the table and what they're seeing firsthand in the maternity housing world. But second is it's driven by the questions and input that you send to us, either through our email or particularly our Facebook group. But the more that the affiliates communicate with us, the more that we create customized plans and content to address each of these questions, just like what Vicki was mentioning with the, evictions and reunification, which has become now a normal discussion among many programming teams in maternity homes.
Right.
So, okay, tell me this. How do affiliates, or how could affiliates connect with council members?
Well, that's a great question. We are active on the Facebook page. A lot of times the members are the ones that you see responding to a lot of the questions, as well as you, Val. And you can call and they can get in touch with you for a consultation, and you will direct them, to the appropriate council member, or you can see us at the conference. A big part of what we do is help plan the housing strand of the conference, and a lot of us are providing the teaching even in that. In Pregnancy Help Institute, we're working on having a housing presence, or more of a housing presence in the years to come. And just webinars, podcasts, Heart and Home, those are all input that the council helps give on content and discussions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I were going to pick something like the lowest hanging fruit, it probably would be our Facebook group, which is Maternity Housing Coalition. And right now you'll see a little tag next to it that says affiliates only. And that's a protected space for our Heartbeat maternity housing affiliates. But that is an active Facebook group where homes can interact with each other peer to peer. But one of the things that's unique is that our council members are also active in that group. And so oftentimes, as Vicki's mentioning, they will respond directly to affiliates with input on a particular subject. And Vicki, I have to say, I think that's generous of y'all to do. You don't have to do that, but I noticed that you really care, and you do. And y'all really stay active in that group, monitoring the discussions and what's going on.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times, each home has to land at a place of what's best for their home, but to know that there's other people out there that are experiencing the same challenges is actually really helpful in seeing the different responses and seeing the way different people handle the same kind of challenge is really helpful.
And so Vicki and I had the privilege of tag teaming at the Pregnancy Help Institute this year, which was so fun. I'm glad you drove down. So this year was the first year ever that we had a maternity housing cohort there. So Pregnancy Help Institute has a few tracks, learning tracks, one of which is called a new director track. And this year, in that new director track, we broke off into a maternity housing group, into a cohort. And that was fun. So I kind of tackled some things more from a theory approach, or here is a way, a decision-making model, a way to come about decisions for your home and determining which services to provide and when. And then Vicki followed up with some of the practical of here's what that could look like in day to day. And I've noticed that you really do well with that, with the content part. So
it's my
why is it
happy area?
Do you have a background with that?
I do. Well, I have a background in education, and so curriculum development, program development. That's easy for me. It comes natural. I love it.
It works well for me. So I can throw out enough concepts to confuse everyone, and then you can come in with your education background and make it all clear so they can understand it and apply it.
Yeah. And I think it's a balance of both that is what's helpful to people. So
absolutely. So Pregnancy Help Institute is another example of a way to connect one-on-one or in a small group environment directly with council members, such as when you were there with me just a couple of weeks ago. Other opportunities, our council members join our quarterly prayer meetings that we have. You can always find that information in our Facebook group. And then, as Vicki mentioned, if you would like a consultation with a specific council member about a specific subject that maybe they have a specialty in, you can email me at housing@heartbeatinternational.org, and let me know what you're thinking and what your need is, and I will get you connected with the best person to meet that need. So, Vicki, just wrapping up this, why don't we wrap up with this thought? What's the overall vision and hope of the MHC Leadership Council?
Yeah, I think the hope is to really educate the housing world on the help that is and support that is out there for them, and hoping to increase affiliation and just adding value to what that affiliation means, and adding more resources, more connection points to other homes. And
Awesome. So if you are not connected with our Heart and Home newsletter, I encourage you to do that. You can subscribe on our website for that as an affiliate. The reason I mentioned that to you is because that is really where it's a highlight of what's going on in the world of maternity housing at Heartbeat that month. And you will find podcasts such as this one highlighted there, webinars, as Vicki mentioned earlier, that are specific to maternity housing and often do involve our leadership council, as well as a few different content or article pieces for you that are written either by myself or guests that can speak on a concentrated topic that maybe y'all have told us that you have a need for. So this is topics or information that is not going to be published publicly. It is really specifically made for our homes. And so you get that as an affiliate, but you won't find it, on our blogs or anything like that. It also has our monthly prayer guide where we pray intentionally together as a whole nationally in any events that are coming up. So I would encourage you to subscribe to that. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Pregnancy Help Podcast.